There we go. Yeah, it's all going on, yeah. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9, so it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing? A full plethora range of people from the UK.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Dodging the storms up here. So uh, it's been interesting today. A bit of lashings of rain and certainly a lot of wind as well. So
Yeah, Paul, just let you know you're muted still.
Okay.
There we go. We're in.
That works out fine, didn't it?
Yeah. So of course it is of course a bye week this weekend for the Cowboys. So we all get a break. Everybody gets a break. Much needed for the Cowboys, mind you, with the injuries that have been mounting up the past few weeks. So that's some good news. But that means, guys, these are my favorite shows. These are the best ones of all. Means today is a fan rant show. That's right, fan rant. So you take over the show. There's no script. There's no prep. There's nothing. We're completely winging it and only talking about whatever you guys talk about. You got a problem with the Cowboys, the NFL, the league, anything you've seen in the news concerning the NFL this week, just drop it in, rant away, and we'll rant right back with you. So we'll just let the comments and everything build up for a little bit, and then we'll dig into it all. But yes, it's quite interesting. Very, I mean, like there's some important games in the NFL this week, especially in the NFC East. You know, the Cowboys could be closing that gap, guys. But so far,
the Dolphins certainly look like they're capable of taking down the Dirty Birds. So
that would be the big one.
Hopefully.
But I mean, we'll go through a few things, as I say, as everything builds up on the comment section. So we got stuff to play with you. But here's one I'll ask you guys. You know, is just thinking about ways to kick off the show while everything builds up. Is how would you grade, guys, the first portion of the if you like the pre-bye week Dallas Cowboys season so far, if you like? And I mean, let's put everything into it. How they did in the draft, free agency, how that's translated into the season.
Oh, we're going there. We're going that deep on it.
Oh, we're going all the way. We'll stripping this right back.
Okay, well, I'll go straight ahead then. I'm going to say C.
A C? Okay.
Yeah.
Reasons?
Well, thinking about the draft and stuff like that, the best thing that's actually happened in that draft is actually an undrafted free agent and then a kicker right now.
Yeah.
So, and in terms of the games and stuff like that, it's just been very inconsistent. I would probably bump that up to like maybe a B- or something like that, but at best. But other than that, yeah, it's very, very low for me right now. I will say though, there has been games where we look more of an A- team, but there's games where we look like a D.
That's fair.
So I'm kind of going based on that.
Yeah.
I think for me it's probably a B-, C+ maybe. You know, I thought we'd be around about 4-2 if you looked at the schedule on paper. You know, and you know, okay, there was going to be question marks about Brock Purdy and whether, you know, he was going to be able to reproduce what he did at the end of last season, especially coming off the surgery to his arm as well. But, you know, I kind of thought we'd be 4-2 at this point in time. But I thought, you know, you were probably talking that the Jets would have given us a bit more game and probably would have if Aaron Rodgers had still been on. And again, there would have been question marks about the 49ers game. If he'd beaten the 49ers, then maybe we would have lost to Kellen Moore or whatever. So I'm not necessarily surprised at that. As we were saying last week, though, I mean, this offense at the moment is like it's somebody's put diesel into a unleaded car at the moment, and we're sputtering like anything. We haven't got the launch codes for this. this offense yet. And potentially when we do, it's looking good. Preseason, again, we were playing vanilla defenses and all that, but the offense looked better in preseason with your second and third strings, and we were moving the ball, scoring touchdowns and what have you. And there's a whole load of question marks with our starters. There's guys that are effectively sleeping during the week in terms of what they're actually producing.
Yeah.
And then, the next week they'll go and ball out and catch 7 passes or something like that for 100 yards or whatever. So,
yeah, I think that's the reason why I've done really, because we're just very inconsistent right now. Like when we're actually on form, we look really good. But that's like, and yeah, we're 4-2, which is great. It really is great. But having that inconsistency is going to catch up. It will damage us. We need to make sure we nullify all those inconsistencies as the season progresses.
Yeah. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm going to go down the same route as Paul. I'm going to probably say C-. I just think the draft didn't blow us away. That's no disrespect to the class that I think is still out. Free agency, like possibly apart from the kicker, what did we really do? I think that the thing that really, pisses me off at the minute is that we're going into week 7 and we still don't know what the identity of this offense is. The coach has been pretty poor, even though we're 4-2. I think we're not utilising Dak for what kind of quarterback Dak is. Dak isn't a sit-in-the-pocket passer. He's never been that. He wasn't in that in college. He wasn't that to start his NFL career.
Yeah.
It's like they wanted now him to do that. Why not let Dak play to his strengths? The 2 defeats that we've had have been absolutely horrendous defeats. It's not as if we've been even close in them games. Last week, although we got back on the winning trail, was still a little bit of a letdown because I think with how that Chargers secondary war in the first few weeks of the season, it was there for the taking, and the Cowboys didn't take advantage of it to run up a scoreline to show what this team can do. The run game's pretty much non-existent. Like I said, it's a number of receivers only getting into the game every now and again, and that's down to the coaching. I think I said it the other week. I think this team's a million miles off from being a Super Bowl contending team. There's at least, for me, 5 teams that are above the Cowboys just in the NFC alone. So, yeah, good job. It's Fan Thursday ranting here because I think that's what we're going to be doing tonight.
Yeah, well, here we go. We've got our first rant in, and it happens to be from DJ Dog. So he's ranting. We like this rant too. So how about this one, guys? Where I don't know if have you guys seen this video? He does his own podcast, The Edge, and I love this because of the reaction that it's caused in the media, where Mike has basically called out basically how despondent the media is when it comes to reporting, how they cherry pick stats and narratives, and basically use the Cowboys as a launch pad to just get them clicks and views. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with it. I've been saying that for the past couple of years. Like, you've got idiots like LaShawn McCoy using the Cowboys to keep himself relevant on TV. You've got Skip Bayless, you've got Stephen A. Smith constantly belittling the Cowboys left, right, and center when it's not necessarily necessary. What happened to the Denver Broncos loss? Why wasn't people slating him as much? You had Shannon Sharp slating more the Cowboys than his own team. That just comes to show how stupid the mainstream media is. And it's I'm going to say it, but it's fucking pish.
I get where Mike is coming from, but I also then look at it another way and think it's the Cowboys in it. It's been like this for, I'm going to say the 70s, but I'm sure there's fans out there that we've been supporting the Cowboys since the 60s. And it's pretty much been like that since day one. I get it from both ways, but I think a little bit comes with the territory. But it's good to see that Mike is out there calling people out, because
He did.
like some of these guys are trying to make themselves known and earn the thing, but it's like Paul says, if that Dolphins win over the Broncos would have been the Cowboys, the Cowboys would have been roasted even more than the team usually gets. So it's like,
It's true.
it's like, come on. Like, and to be fair, and not saying that because we've not played the game at that level, but some of these players that are calling the Cowboys out, but
Oh yeah.
crappy
You're still seeing like some bloody joy on that show with Acho and LaShawn McCoy still saying, "Oh yeah, Jalen Hurts is still a better quarterback than Dak Prescott." Like, what is she? Hell, she watching based on what? Has 7 interceptions to Dak's 4 right now. Don't get me wrong, Dak's had a bad game, yeah, but Jalen Hurts is having a terrible season right now in comparison. Like, like so, you've got dumb freaking idiots on the mainstream media talking like absolutely think they freaking know it all. They don't talk about mostly any other teams. If anything, you're talking about a 5-minute segment there, and there on, and that's it. And you're given a whole 25 minutes.
I got one that can double that for you. I'll tag you in it later.
It's ridiculous.
Some guy, right, was like, Emmanuel Ocho was talking and saying, and what's making me laugh is you're looking at all these media personnel and they're biting back at Micah. None of them have turned around and gone, do you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe we should do better.
They're doubling down. They've just proved
attacking back. Yeah,
they've just proved its point. It's like, are you guys actually absolutely stupid? Are you actually had too many concussions during your playing career? I'm sorry, but it's absolutely ridiculous.
It's true, because it's almost
like Parsons just literally just said, you guys are talking about us far too much than what it needs to be, and yet now you're going off and doubling down on it. Yeah. It's like saying,
a Cowboys player has said something. Let's springboard off that.
Oh, absolutely. It's it's
funny.
Like, well, congratulations. You just made yourselves utter complete fannies again on television. Fantastic.
Yeah, it is wild to watch. And do you know what I mean? I'll tag you in something later. I'll even try and snap the image of it. And some guy was just like, they're talking about it with Stephen A and everything. And they're like, oh, they're arguing the point. Look at that. Another pin in the map for us. Huh? Look at this. Brilliant. Slowly moving around Europe. I love it. So what was funny is a guy who took took the segments of each part of FS1, right? It was a whole 2 hours of nothing but Dallas Cowboys talk. It was like each headline, and it was like, blah, 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 blah. Can the Cowboys win the NFC East? Next segment, is CeeDee Lamb bouncing back as wide receiver 1? And it was going on and on. And it went on for 2 hours. And you're just like, oh my God. But I got another great rant here. Let's talk about this one, because this is very relevant for this week. So, Tim Warner off YouTube. Do you think Philly has played more consistently than we have, or squeezed a few games easy schedule? I would say they have been extremely lucky in a few games that one or two plays that could just, like the ball fall just the right way, they're losing that game. But go on, guys, hit me with a rant and let us know at home what you think of how the Eagles have kicked the season off so far. Rant with us. Rant.
You sure?
Yeah, go on.
I'm just going to say one thing and one thing only about the Eagles. If they didn't do that whole brotherly shove, they'd be screwed.
Yeah.
The amount of third and shorts they've had to converted because of that one type of play. Fair enough, they executed it very well, but what else have they actually done? Like, you're seeing Smith pure really disconnected with Jalen Hurts out there. Like, I mean, AJ Brown seems to be the best guy. Dallas Goedert's hit and miss right now. You've got running backs are just not like hit and miss as well. So, and you've got issues with the offensive line still with them right now, because I think Lane Johnson's now out. isn't he? Is he out for a couple of weeks, I believe?
He certainly left the game on Sunday, but I think he came back at the end of the game.
Came
So
back?
I don't know,
Right.
don't know what the situation is going forward for this week. But I mean, yeah, for the Washington Commanders game, that's an NFC East game, and you can say what you want about NFC East games. The form book goes out the window on those. But I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that the defensive back had got his hand down and Terry McLaurin and the overtime catch that was rolled out of bounds, if he hadn't landed on the defender's arm, then that would have been a catch inbounds and everything like that. And they moved down and probably at very least got a field goal, if not got a touchdown and won that game. The fact that the Redskins were leading that game at points as well, but there hasn't been a conclusive victory. I mean, for me, the 49ers have opened this season very strongly. They've scored 30 points in every single game, and they've been there and there or thereabouts. They've certainly been 10, 12, 14 point favourites, or by the end of the game, they've had, that's been the margin of victory, with the exception, obviously, of last weekend. The Eagles have been very lucky. They've had to score on the last drive. They've, the number of one score games that they've had. If they are that great, and this defense that they're meant to have is meant to be record setting, better than ours was going to be prior to Trayvon Diggs and all that sort of stuff, and it's just not been. And they've now got a very hard stretch. I think they've got. What is it? They've got Miami, they've got Buffalo, 49ers, and then us, I think, in the next 4 weeks. I mean, they could quite easily lose all 4 of those.
I will be enjoying those Eagles tears when that happens, mate. I'm telling you. But what was the last thing you just said there about the Eagles there, Lorne, before the schedule?
The number of one score games that they've had, that they've had to score on the last drive to win or whatever.
Right. So here's a question with regards to the Eagles, right? Are they really a 5-1 team?
No.
Yeah.
No, they're not. Would you say Miami is?
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you after watching 2 more games on them.
Yep.
I think other than them getting schooled by the Buffalo Bills, which again, that's an interdivision game, and you have so much more tape on your opponent that you know the intricacies and everything like that, and you know what to attack better than anything else.
Yeah.
But certainly, I mean, they had what, if it wasn't for the pick 6 that was thrown last weekend, that would have been a 28-point ball game there. 50 points against Sean Payton, all hail Sean Payton, that should be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys and all that. They've been schooling teams this season. I'd certainly say that, they're certainly seem a better team at the moment compared to Kansas City Chiefs at the moment, who again they've been clawing tooth and nail, and if it wasn't for the Taylor Swift factor, they might not be.
Jamie, what do you think? Do you think Miami is a 5-1 team?
I think they are, yeah. They're arguably, for the knocks he's had over last year, they've arguably got one of, if not the best quarterback in the NFL at the minute on form. I still think, and as much as I hate to say, I still think the Eagles are better than them. Yeah, Hurts has put a lot of picks, but when you look at the stats across the board, it shows that they're taking shots. There's one game so far this season that the top receiver out of the game hasn't come away with has come away with less than 120 yards in the air. They're very consistent on the ground. Their O-line, is up there, if not the best in the NFL. They're really strong on and to be fair, they've always been strong on defense. To me, they're probably the second best team in the NFL at the minute, and Miami probably third best for me at the minute. But like Long said earlier, the Eagles have got a hard set of fixtures coming up. I think even in that list as well, I think they've got the Chiefs as well in the next 5 weeks, which could help us. But then we've got to overcome ourselves before we look at overcoming the Eagles, because I think they're gonna, unless we can find some consistency, I think they're gonna run away with the East this year.
Look, so what I was trying to get at, like, there's also,
I know where you go. Go on,
right? We've also got San Francisco. We can all agree they are definitely a 5-1 team right now. Like,
they're on a tier on their own.
Yeah, they're in the one level above. Like, the reason I'm saying that is what difference is that is like, so Miami, the Eagles, and us are right now. Unfortunately, we've got the 2 losses. That's really 2 games that we really sucked at, which was Cardinals and San Francisco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Eagles, they've been very lucky to actually be in that position right now. And
Definitely.
and if I'm being perfectly, and this is not me playing any favoritism here, because
Yeah.
but we have been playing much more attractive football. We've actually been making more impact plays in both defense and offense, whereas the Eagles, they are being very predictable on what they're doing right now. Like, so, and that's where
their style of game is
like, very stringent, if that makes sense.
I get it, but then I look at it the other way, is that this sport is you play to win, don't you? And would you rather having more impact plays and be 4-2, or play scruffy football like the She-Eagles are and be 5-1? I think, and not. I said not. I feel like I'm on their bandwagon tonight just because I've praised them, and I just don't like it. I don't like praising them, but it's like I'd rather be where they are than we are, if that makes more sense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's one, right? So, JXL70, right? I just kept this one here because we were talking about everything. We're ranting on everything. The draft class being a disappointment. I know, obviously, we just touched on it at the start of the show, right, Paul? And you mentioned about Brandon Aubrey. He's been a big, I mean, a hell of a start. But talking generally about the draft class being a big disappointment, that these players are either low on the depth chart, they're healthy scratches and they haven't come in, offensive line worries, all the rest of it. Now, I would say Mazzy, I would say you can't say he's a disappointment, because you've got to give him time to develop. You really do. For the position, to grow into size, learn some techniques that he wasn't using in Michigan. But generally, I think the one bad game he has had, the 49ers, is like, you look at that, the entire team play bad. In terms of Schoonmaker, you can kind of say, it hasn't looked great, but I mentioned it in the chat before. Go back and look at Jason Witten's rookie year. It's like, it's not good. It's 1 touchdown, like 200 yards. He played in all 15 games, in a backup or starter role, kind of a mix of both. So you can't really judge that either. Tight end, there's so much involved in it. As in terms for everything else, I mean, Lipke, he's been fine. Deuce Vaughn, I think, kind of has had an unlucky run, that they've utilized him in the wrong way. So that looks bad. In terms of everybody else, Austin Richards, I think he looks fine. TJ Bass, when he's come in, he's looked good. He's been solid. But for everything else, they've all taken development roles for beyond this season, depending on what they decide to do with players. So I get that it's a disappointment now, but I think you'll see the effects of these players next year and beyond. I don't know what you guys think. I know we're all about, we want results right now, but sometimes certain players of certain positions, especially what the Cowboys have taken take time to develop. Give me your thoughts, guys, on the draft class.
I mean, again, we've lost Overshawn. That's a big blow. I mean,
It was.
As Labarsky's saying here, if Overshawn wasn't injured, we'd probably be talking about this draft class differently. Mazzy Smith, tail end first round pick, realistically a second round pick. If you go that normally there's only 15 guaranteed first rounders in that first round draft. And he's playing a position that if he does his job, he doesn't get the stats, but he opens up lanes for LVE, Damone Clark, DeMarvion Overshawn, whoever's playing linebacker, come in and eliminate the running plays or whatever. And you saw actually this week, I think PFF as well has graded him quite well. Both him and Hankins actually had a good week, and it was a big part of why Austin Eckler was fairly non-event this week coming back.
1.9 yards 1.9 per carry.
Yeah, yards per carry. And only 35 yards through the air as well, or something like that. So to hold him to 70 yards less all-purpose, shows that this defense is good. A one-technique defensive tackle should literally be taking up double team blocks and letting everybody else go to the ball. He shouldn't be getting the stats unless you're talking about somebody like Casey Hampton, the old Pittsburgh Steelers nose tackle, who he was an All-Pro and all that, and he'd been used to playing in that sort of 3-4 system, coming in, and he was able to hit the ground running but you're talking a different scheme that is employed in Dallas than is in Michigan. I think Schoonmaker's been effective in his run blocking.
In the block.
Obviously, there's a disconnect there with he's caught a touchdown pass, but that's about it from in terms of his catches. I think that's his only catch actually so far. He's had a number of drops. But then Michael Gallup, who's a 5-year wide receiver in this league, has had a number of drops as well. Again, this is all something's not right with this offense at the moment. When it clicks, it's probably going to work. Now you could say with Schoonmaker as well, he's behind in his development a little bit because obviously he had the
I'd agree with that
as well. So he's coming in. He's almost like Jalen Tolbert last year, but he's been on the field more than Jalen Tolbert. So, and then we're getting playing time out of TJ Bass. Where, as you say,
look good.
It's looked good. I mean, obviously, when you got guys going down and Zach Martin's having to sit out a game or whatever, and you got TJ Bass in playing, and the offense the offensive line was pretty stout in their pass defense that time, so
yeah, I agree, guys. I mean, Paul, we'll go around the house.
I've got nothing more to add, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, I like it. Jamie?
Yeah, I think probably the best way to describe this year's draft is, or describe how poor it is at the minute, is out of this whole class we're talking about an undrafted fullback and a linebacker that's out injured. I think that just shows how impactful the rest of this draft class has been, and sadly, it's not looking good at the minute. But like I say, time will tell. A lot of these picks seem to be further down the line, but the only thing that's a little bit disappointing is, even though he was a late round first pick, he's your first rounder. Should really your first rounder be on the field? Because you're taking him in the first round because they're the ones that you think that are more NFL ready than anybody else in the draft.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true. I mean, like, I think Lipke, they've utilized him sparingly, but where they have, that's looked good. Like when you go to the draft class, I also include here we go. Big Lebowski's beating me to it. I also take into account what they added in free agents. So you look at the free agent moves they made. Both Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks played a huge role in last week's game. So obviously Brandon Cooks catches the touchdown as Dak is dropping backwards and running back and throwing off the back foot into the corner of the end zone, or the side of the end zone, I should say. And Stephon Gilmore catches the game-winning interception. So both of those made a huge impact in last week's game. I think they've done okay. The only thing I still disagree on, I'm still a huge... I just put a massive red cross on the entire sort of moves that they've made on everything, was and you guys know this, is the Trey Lance trade. I still dislike it. And what's funny is we're seeing the effects of how that trade has now held the team back, when we could have used that 4th round pick to go and get another linebacker. You could have got something a bit more flashy than what you got, albeit I'm not saying I'm not a fan of the move that they've made on linebacker. I think that's great. But when you've got these limited resources, because people are and we'll talk about the trades in a moment, or trade deadline, because we've got a rant on that one, is that you think that 4th round pick come this time now, we could have sat there on, what's available? What could we play with? And you could probably have gone and used that to get something more. I'm not giving up a day 1 or a day 2 pick for a rental linebacker for this year. It's just like, what a waste. Do you know what I mean? So the only way you're going to do it is if you trade at this stage, you're trading a player for a player. Although they have brought some guys in today to work out, but they're all guys where you're just like, oh, who? Because like that's really all they can do, because this Trey Lance move has kind of it's twisted their arm in what they can do. But yeah, no, let's have a look. I did see a good one, a good rant here. Where was it? This does not make for good listening, by the way. If you're just listening to it all. But there was one, I mean, we'll just put this up for now. But there was one talking about the trades, about trade deadline coming up, right, guys? Joe's talking about Derrick Henry.
But
here's a question for you. No, definitely not. But what would you guys want to see in terms of a trade move, or if they were going to solidify a position before the trade deadline, what position do you think they should look to propagate, if you like? Propagate?
6th rounder for a linebacker, perhaps, or offensive lineman.
They've got a 5th or a 7th at the moment.
Oh, so for 7th, well, it'll be probably a 5th then. We do have compensation picks as well.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Yeah, but you don't get those sort of allocated until the league turn of the league year. So
yeah. So if it was me, it'd probably be a 5th rounder for maybe like an offensive lineman, perhaps, or
offensive lineman makes sense,
or another linebacker for depth. To a player that you could probably get on the cheap because they could be coming to near the end of the contract before hitting free agency. That would make more sense. Someone's in their last year of their contract, that's going to go big next year. Like, going to be like a hot potato, pretty much.
I think in terms of draft capital for next year, I think we're screwed. Like I said, just because of the fewer picks that we've got, if they're going to make a splash, it's going to have to be a 2025 pick, isn't it? Just because there's so many holes on this team that need addressing in the draft next year. I don't think you can afford to go out and give up a 1st or a 2nd for like he's like possibly probably a rental this year. Just especially with how far this team seems off the mark to make a run. I think they've got to play smart. I don't think there's anybody really in terms of when you say about trading a player for a player. Is there anybody any good enough on this roster outside of your Michael Parsons? That's obviously not on the trade board, but something like or a CD Lamb. When you take out those upper echelon players that are on the roster, you're not going to be able to get anybody with any work back for some of the depth players that in other positions on this board. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys kind of stayed pat a little bit and try to get someone off the streets to pack this roster out for a bit.
Chris is just asking, is it Thanksgiving yet? 5
5
weeks, bro.
5 weeks.
Less than 5 weeks now.
Well,
Wait, 5 weeks today, isn't it? No,
we'll be sitting.
We'll
be at the end of the first quarter by about now. So
no, 4 weeks and 5 days. There we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just be kicking off now.
Yep.
Yeah.
We get to see Dolly and all. I mean, this trip's even
Dolly Parton. Who would have thought that?
She heard we were turning up. I think that's what it was.
Honestly, I'm actually, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually stoked about the halftime performance. Last time I was really happy about it was Luke Combs, and me and Jamie got to see him the other night there. But Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah. I mean, she's a legend. And maybe we'll get a bit of a sing along to Jolene going.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. But here we go. Any of you guys, would you do this? Would you trade Mazzy and Scooney for Porter and A-Chain?
Yeah. Just straight off the bat, yeah.
No.
Not to jump in really quick. I just think I think for what this team needed, I think the Porter pick would have been a better pick than Mazzy Smith.
Oof.
I would say no.
Yeah, I'd say no too. Mazzy is going to be much more impactful. And A-Chain, coming from an Aggies fan, love the guy, and you've seen how explosive he is, but due to his size in the NFL, he's already showing his biggest weakness, which is durability.
Yep. And in our scheme, you wouldn't see that working.
Yeah, very.
I mean, again, at the moment, one of the things we're bemoaning is that we don't have a big back.
That is the biggest problem, yeah.
And you need that to work in cohorts with Tony Pollard, and that's why Tony Pollard's been ineffective as well. I think ultimately as well, our offensive line, the fact whether it's that they're not on the same page because we're on about 5 or 6 different combinations already this season.
Yeah.
I also don't know. I mean, obviously, Mike Solari has been in the league for 35 years. You don't stay in the league for 35 years if you're not a good coach. But is this another sort of Paul Alexander situation where there's just something that it's trying to teach guys something that they're not buying into properly? Because you're seeing guys that, Terence Steele, okay, he's coming back from injury. Tyler Biadasz, there's potential that he's got an injury from training camp where his leg got rolled up on or whatever. But generally across the board, everybody seems to have taken a step back. Tyler Smith, I was looking at PFF this week. Tyler Smith is actually graded higher as a guard than Zach Martin is this season.
I don't know about whether I do.
I mean, you're talking 4 percentage or 2.4 percentage points or whatever, but or grade points. But I mean, at the moment, Tyler's had a bad couple of games. I'll give you that. But
last week bad. And he's had a couple of games where it's just looked rough for him. I don't know if that's like the sophomore slump sort of hitting him, and we're seeing the effects of last year's lack of development by switching positions. Now this is the echo of that, which is more like it. Would you guys feel happy about Big Lebarski's report here that they're talking to the Cardinals about Zach Ertz. Bearing in mind Zach Ertz getting a little long in the tooth now.
I think that's a pointless trade, isn't it? You've got two tight ends that came on pretty well towards the back of the last season. You've gone out and spent the second round pick on another one. The Cowboys have to carry 4 tight ends, are they?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is the thing I would say to this, right, Paul? Tell me what you think about getting Zach Ertz. His insider knowledge on the Eagles.
I would not touch him with a barge pole. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, what about this one? Joe gives this idea of trading Gallup for Derrick Henry. Now, I'm up for trading Gallup, but for Derrick Henry, I don't know because I think he's gone past his prime now. And
I don't know. He had a good game this weekend.
Yeah, it's the position for me more than anything. But I'm up for trading Gallup at this stage. I don't know what you guys think.
It's that third round pick. I would be unhappy giving that away.
Yeah, I'm not.
If that was the trade, though, like if that was to happen, would you be okay with it? Like think of that. If that actually did happen, we know a third rounder is not going to be enough. But just based on Joe's comment, if we did get him for a third for Derrick Henry and Michael Gallup, would you? I would.
Can I put a different spin on it? If we had no overhauls on this roster and we had a few more draft picks, then yeah. But I think just think like I said, if you're going to give up a third, I'd rather give up a third and they say maybe bring up another offensive lineman in or a linebacker just due to the depth there.
Agreed.
Yeah. It's an awkward. Like the thing is if you go back, like if you was to make that trade, you think which is going to be more impactful? Obviously, both have got injury history, but I just think that okay, so you get rid of Gallup, who fills his spot? Well, we know it's going to be Jalen Tolbert. We know that he's looked good, he's looked fine. He hasn't got the physicality issues that we're seeing with Gallup at the moment. Where's the area that we're struggling with trying to find that lumbering north to south runner in the middle that can just bowl through when we get into the red zone, most certainly. So it does work, it does help, but I don't know. I'm not sure that would work for me. We got one from Christopher, our pal Christopher. What do you think about Leonard Fournette?
In fairness, I actually wouldn't mind that now, considering, like, based on how our running backs are right now, like Fournette's definitely more powerhouse back. He can be more of your inside run guy.
Yep, I think his phone should be lighting up in the next couple of weeks. You know, as people try to bring him on board as well. So,
I know our good friend Dave Hellman would be happy with that one.
Yeah. But fun fact about Leonard Fournette: he once finished a game with a longest run of 97 yards, but finished the game with a total of 92 yards. That's real. It sticks in my mind, that one. So you to that point, he was on. That came on like in the fourth quarter. It was like one of the last plays of the game.
It's funny that you mentioned like the stats and stuff like that. I saw a really obscure statistic today.
I love them.
Right, and this is not to do with Cowboys. It's actually and the post was name me the weirdest statistic you ever seen in the NFL. It was Jerome Bettis, 6 yards. Sorry, 6 rushing attempts for 2 yards, but yet 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
I thought that was weird.
The craziest one I seen was this year, and it was an LSU game. And LSU, in 18 plays, went 18 yards. And it was like, how is that even possible? But here we go. Yeah. So yes, he when you need him most, yeah, that is very true. But here's another one that's coming from Arizona. Strangely, a sixth rounder for running back James Conner. Currently he's injured. Now I like the running back. I like the player because he's a little bit of do of everything type running back. He's got a little bit of he's not a complete package. That's the wrong word to use, but he's complete in terms of you can get him to do a little bit of everything, which is pretty much what the Cardinals do. He's their primary playmaker. Would you guys do that for an injured running back? Bring him in, get him to see if he can pass a medical, and then go from there?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I'd need to know what the medical side of it is, whether you are going to get anything out of him.
That would be the risk assessment for sure.
I mean, if you think James Conner about 4 or 5 years ago was the reason why Le'Veon Bell ended up playing for the Jets, that Le'Veon Bell sat out a year. James Conner came in, did everything Le'Veon Bell did, maybe 95% level of what Le'Veon Bell was, but was effective in that Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And okay, he's now moved on because obviously they've picked up guys like Najee Harris and what have you. But it's certainly interesting to see that Cardinals are talking about shifting on. I mean, interestingly, this week, they've activated the practice window for Kyler Murray. So
I've seen that today. Actually,
are they truly tanking for this season, or because I mean, who are you tanking for? Because at the moment, Kyler Murray's under contract, and I think it's all guaranteed for the next 2 or 3 years. You're not going to be able to move on from him.
Let's be honest, I don't think anyone wants to go for Caleb Williams right now after what he's just said recently.
No.
I wouldn't pay too much attention to
that. I mean, Caleb Williams at the moment, he needs to, whoever's putting all this stuff out there needs to get rid of them, because I mean, this stuff, couple of weeks it was, I'm only going to play for 5 different teams, and I think it was Cowboys, Giants, 49ers, and one other, and I think it was like, well, none of those are going to have the first round pick in the draft. So you're then talking about having to do effectively what the 49ers did to get Trey Lance. You're going to have to give up something like that, and sorry, I'm not giving up 3 years worth of first round draft picks.
Yeah, here's an interesting one from MA. What about if we traded straight up Trey Lance for Derrick Henry? Now that I would do. I mean, you're talking to the wrong guy on that one. I would trade Trey Lance for a Coke machine at the moment, but
honestly, you really have a pure detest for that trade. You really do.
It was worthless. It was just so like the guy cannot play quarterback. That's it. Simple as. And like I get it that they see him as a project. Mike McCarthy sees himself as a bit of a quarterback whisperer, which you can kind of agree with, and he's hoping he can mold him to something tangible. I just don't see it. An FCS quarterback who really wasn't a good passer. So it works. It works for me.
Again, you've got to remember Trey Lance as well is coming off a similar injury to Dak Prescott as well. So, the full dislocation, or full break and dislocation and what have you. Even when he does get on the field and gets regular playing time, is he going to be mentally? We saw when Dak came back, he was, he's only just starting to use his feet properly again. In terms of scrambling with the ball, is Trey Lance going to do that immediately?
I like 22 or 23.
Yeah,
sorry, answering the question.
Yeah, no, I like the trade for Trey Lance, and that eventually we might be able to turn it around. You could probably pick up the phone and go to Indianapolis at the moment, because obviously Anthony Richardson gone down for the remainder of the season. You could maybe ship him off for a pick that already, but again, that's, you're not going to do a mid-season trade for him, because at the moment you're talking about 3-4 weeks to pick up a playbook or something like that.
Yeah.
So by that point in time, Indianapolis or whoever is trading for him, they might be completely out of it and already looking at first pick or whatever. Albeit I think the Bears seem to be going straight for it in a 2-horse race with the Broncos at the moment. So,
do you guys see any major trades before the deadline? Tim Warner's asking, or stand what we got? I think it's not so much they won't trade. I think they will pick up some whatever's on the free agent market. That's what they're really going to look to do, because they have, what is it that they can trade, unless they're going to trade a player for a player. So obviously, I think if you're trading for a player, you got to think of what are our biggest positions where we've got a lot of depth. Pass rusher. So you think, okay, let's ship off the pass rusher for a linebacker, offensive lineman, cornerback, running back. It could be another option. But I just think by doing that, I think of the type of players that they would ship off, and I don't like that idea, because I like the fact that our pass rush is what makes this Cowboys team at the moment special. That's their special ability, is their pass rushing ability. You get rid of one, and it just chips away at that a little bit of what makes them good, what makes them great. I don't want to use any more draft picks. No, a few people have talked about that, saying our draft show will be rather short, which is true. So, yeah, I don't think it's so much that they will stick with what they have. It's more that they're just going to try and scrape the bargain bucket for what's out there.
Yep. And I mean, if trades are going through and teams are trading first draft picks for players, then they're going to have to release somebody from their rosters as well. So there'll be free agents that come up from that who are better than the street free agents you've got at the moment, because they have actually been on the roster this year, and they've got practice experience. They're ready to play. So if you brought them in and picked them up, then you potentially could be starting them in a couple of weeks where you're not having to actually do the ramping up period and then everything like that. So
no, I like that. People are disagreeing on what about Quentin Nelson? Trade lines for Quentin Nelson, Paul?
If that only a man could dream.
All right, so we're coming up to the hour mark, and we'll let everybody get it all off their chest. So let's finish with this, and then we'll move to the paying the bills segment. Here's one for you, everybody at home as well. Based on what you've seen before the bye, how the team is moving and developing on and all the rest of it, and what they have in the next segment of their schedule, which is looking a little bit tough. But what do you think the Cowboys' final record will be at the end of the regular season, and do they make the playoffs?
A quick look at the rest of the schedule.
I still think we're going to be about an 11 and 6, 12 and 5 team again, and I think we will be. I think we will be playoffs. Obviously, the NFC East with the Giants and Commanders at the moment, they're struggling. Commanders have been in a hell of a lot of games actually that they probably should be better than the record is. But the Giants have obviously just tail bombed at the moment. They're already in the recent article about who might be on trade block. They're already talking that maybe Saquon Barkley's on the trade block. And again, that's a sort of that's somebody. Would you do a trade for that? Because obviously he's only on a 1-year contract. You're not going to be giving up a lot to get him if you can't get a deal in place for him. So, and obviously that you're going to see the Lions probably winning the North. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think the Saints probably for the South, 49ers for the West, and we're certainly there for a wild card at least. But I think we've got problems when we come to face Miami. I think unless they've got serious injuries or anything like that, and I don't wish that on them. But the losing of Trayvon Diggs certainly takes something away from that.
Definitely.
But I still see us being a playoff team anyway. And then once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. So,
Paul, go on. I know you was not into the 12-5 idea.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still find we are going to lose some games along the way, but I find if we can nullify all the inconsistencies, then I don't see why we can't be a 12-5 team. We could still be top seed, but we could still win our division. But it's in terms of record wise, I think 12-5 at best.
Jamie,
looking at it, at worst they're going to be a 10-win team. At best, 11. It's the Seahawks ones are flipping for me. It depends on how the Seahawks are playing when they come into Dallas. I think the Cowboys will go wild card. I don't think they'll win the division. I said that weeks ago. I don't think they'll win the division. And I don't think they'll go any further than the wild card. But like saying, get some players back and see what kind of run we can go on after the bye, and then let's address this question again 3 or 4 weeks after the bye. But I think 10 at worst, 11 at best, and they'll go out in the wild card.
Yeah, all right, I like it. See, and now we all feel a little better that we've ranted, we've got it off our chest, and everyone's feeling a little bit better for it, which is what the Fan Rant Show is all about. It's us.
Do you know what the best thing about
the MVPs?
Do you know what the best thing about Rant Week is?
Yes.
It's that the Cowboys can't ruin it this weekend.
That they've got to take this rant and stick it. There we go. But yes, so we will be back next week. I'm not sure if Brian's going to come on the Tuesday to do a show. I forgot to ask. If he is, we'll be back then.
I think there's talk about doing a round table or something like that. But...
A round table, beautiful, always good fun. Getting down and deep with it all. But okay, hit me with it, Mr. Paul.
Hey guys, if you're planning on going to a Dallas Cowboys game this year, be sure to go and check out cowboysexperience.com for game tickets, stadium tours, meet and greets, and much, much more. For more information, go to cowboysexperience.com, and to get the best opportunity of our upcoming package, please use the code UKCowboys.
Free stuff, baby. And Jamie, hit me with this bit, and then we'll get out of here.
As the guys said earlier on, 5 weeks today, the UK Cowboys fans group sat in AT&T Stadium, cheered on the Cowboys for the Thanksgiving game against the Washington Commanders. There is still time to get on. I think it's a deadline. I think the deadline's coming up soon, but there's still time.
I think the deadline is actually end of this week, I believe.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. There you go. So you've got a few more days to join. Don't miss out. The guys have put together absolutely not just a Cowboys film package, but everything is planned out day to day. It's going to be one to remember. So jump on if you want to come. Hit us up on the socials or hit up our sponsors, Cowboys Experience, for more details and be quick.
Yeah, baby. So that is it for this week. As I say, we will be back. Hopefully Tuesday, Brian and the guys will be back for a roundtable. If not, we will be back on Thursday with the pregame show for the LA Rams. So, yeah, it's La La Land for the Cowboys, where it's LA. But yeah, apart from that, always stay safe. Have a lovely weekend. I had the first word, so these guys all have the last word. You've been the MVPs of this Fan Rant Show. Stay safe, folks.
Go Dolphins.
Yep, completely agree. We've had a chance to rant. Let it relax. Get it off your chest. Recharge your batteries this weekend. We've got a lot more football left to play.
Enjoy the Cowboys stress-free weekend. Rest up, because then it's all back next week. And like Paul says, go Miami.